You asked for a secure fence, we gave you a secure fence. Our neighbors can be funny buggers. Nice 1 minute. Moody the next. There was a rickety old fence between our properties which I owned. We'd patched it up a few times but didn't really have the money to totally replace 80 feet of bespoke sized fences and posts at that time. The neighbors have complained a few times about our fence. They have 10 dogs and have spent a lot of money on landscaping their garden. They demanded we replace the fence because they need a secure boundary for the dogs but made it very clear they were not contributing to the costs. It's not unreasonable, but the way they demanded rubbed me up the wrong way. Generally in the UK, there are no WA rules on old builds, so I can replace the wooden fence with anything we like as long as it's on our land and is no more than 2 meters high. So last month we got a quote and arranged for a firm to replace the fencing. I informed the neighbors and picked a day they would be at work so not to ruin the surprise. When they got home, they found the wooden fence and wooden posts have been replaced with 6 feet concrete posts and a wall of concrete panels. Now they look out of their kitchen onto what resembles the Berlin Wall. I also made sure the smooth face of the concrete panels are pointing towards us. We have bushes along our side so wouldn't see it anyway. But their side is right next to their patio area. They haven't approached us about it yet, but my husband told me he could see the wife in her garden from his office window and she had a face like thunder. Edited for Clarify. We got the materials cheap because hubby got a very competitive staff discount as part of contract for his new job. We couldn't afford it to replace the fence until now. The neighbors have been nagging for years, but we have just been patching up the holes. So decided to finally get it done after one of her dogs got in my garden and wife ranted at me about it. Concrete fence was cheaper than bespoke fence sizes but more expensive and less destructive on the gardens than standard fencing, as it would require repositioning the posts and having more holes dug for more posts. Fantastic. Out of interest, how much did that cost? Put a watchtower up as well to add to Berlin atmosphere. Yeah. With a neighbor like that, I would have torn down the fence and waited a year to replace it. 10 dogs. Huh? Sounds like you should do something to contain them. I'm saving my pennies for a replacement fence. Maybe another year. Not sure what lumber prices are going to do, though. We'll get it done. Eventually. How does the UK feel about barbed wire? A year or so ago my landlord replaced our fence here in New England, USA. Apparently the law around here anyway is that nicer, smooth side of the fence must be facing toward any adjacent property. The less nice side is required to face inward toward the person who installed it. Apparently this law has been in place for a long time in the interest of preventing neighborly disputes. Beyond that, I don't understand why you would be responsible to pay for and install a fence. Because they have 10 dogs. And further, I cannot understand how you could possibly consider such a demand not unreasonable. Now go away or I shall taunt you a second time. Please, please, please take a photo. I bet any barking will echo off that fence really well. My grandfather has a similar situation. The fence was a little sketchy and had some holes towards the bottom on the one side, and his neighbor was yelling about it because they didn't want their dogs being able to get out of the yard. Their yard was fenced in by the people surrounding them. They had only had to put up the front part of the fence. Grandfather asked to split the cost of replacing it and they said no, that it was their fence and they had to replace it. Eventually, the neighbor called zoning on the fence saying it was unsafe. So my grandfather got a citation saying he had to fix the fence or take it down. So he took it down. Neighbor went irate saying that he has to put it back up because it ruined his fence because now he doesn't have a completely fenced-in yard. My grandfather explained that it was his property and it was cheaper to just tear it down than replace it. Eventually, the neighbor paid to have the fence installed themselves. My grandfather slipped the contractors $50 and had them tie his front fence into it, like the neighbor had previously done to his. I loved when he shared these stories. I learned later in life that when he was young, my grandfather was a cheeky bastard that lived for this shit. You have a fence I'd die for. That's my dream, just having a concrete wall around my property hood on you, man. For brownie points, add barbed wire on too. They have 10 dogs. That's a lot of dogs. They need a secure boundary for their dogs and wanted you to provide it. It's rip it all out and all them how they like what you provided. Wait, what? You were expected to put up a fence to corral their 10 dogs? In the UK, if you have dogs, it is your responsibility to keep them on your land. Hence, neighbors would have had to erect a fence on their land to keep the dogs on their land only. I'd have been tempted to tear down the fence and then complain to the appropriate authorities. You only need to maintain a boundary if it's defined in your property deeds. My house was built in the 50s and there's nothing to denote who maintains which boundary, hence we would share responsibility with the neighbors. A chain link fence would also have been a good way to get revenge. 10 dogs does not compute with paying a lot of money on landscaping. Good work. I'm glad you could do it. In my city, there is a regulation that says if a fence has a nice side and a less nice side, the nice side must face outward towards the neighbors. Hence, it makes sense to choose a design that is similar on both sides. Maybe I'm in a hole, but I would have just taken the fence down and told them if they want a fence, they can put one up on their side of the property line. Tell them, winter is coming. Quote. Nice one, thumbs up grin. Made it very clear they were not contributing to the costs. It's not unreasonable. Yes, it is. In Canada, that's called a dick move.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.